The deep blue secret Dr. Sarah Chen adjusted her diving equipment one final time before stepping into the pressurized chamber of the research vessel Hadal Explorer. 20,000 feet below the Pacific surface, her team was investigating unusual energy readings that had appeared near the Mariana Trench. As Earth's leading expert in deep-sea ecosystems, Sarah had seen her share of mysteries. But nothing quite like this. The readings suggested artificial structures buried beneath millions of years of sediment, structures that pulsed with an energy, signature unlike anything in human technology. Sarah's colleague, Dr. Marcus Webb, monitored her descent from the surface, his voice crackling through the communication system. "Sarah, those energy spikes are getting stronger the deeper you go. Are you sure about this?" Sarah's submersible Deep Star descended through the absolute darkness of the ocean's deepest reaches. "Marcus, if we're right about these readings, this could change everything we know about Earth's history. Some of these signatures are reading as older than human civilization itself." What Sarah didn't know was that far above Earth's atmosphere, sleek vessels had been watching her descent with great interest. The Zephyrian Collective had been monitoring Earth for months, cataloging its inhabitants and studying their genetic makeup. To them, Earth appeared to be a primitive world ripe for exploitation. Commander Vex of the Zephyrian fleet studied the holographic display showing Sarah's submersible. His reptilian features twisted into what passed for a smile among his species. "Perfect specimens," he hissed to his science officer. "The females of this species show remarkable genetic adaptability. They will serve our breeding programs well." The Zephyrians had built their empire on conquest and genetic harvesting. They sought out worlds with useful biological traits, took what they needed, and moved on. Earth, with its diverse population and apparent lack of advanced defenses, seemed like an ideal target. The Capture Sarah's submersible suddenly lurched as powerful tractor beams locked onto it. Emergency alarms blared as she was pulled upward at impossible speeds. Marcus, do you copy? Something's got me." But there was no response. Unknown to Sarah, the Zephyrian fleet had already deployed across Earth's major population centers. Using advanced stealth technology, they had begun systematic abductions of human females, focusing on those with specific genetic markers that their science indicated would be most valuable. Dr. Elena Vasquez, a geneticist working late in her Mexico City laboratory, looked up from her microscope to see strange figures materializing in her lab. Before she could scream, a paralyzing beam struck her. In Tokyo, architect Yuki Tanaka was lifted from her apartment balcony by an invisible force. In London, engineer Rebecca Sterling simply vanished from her flat, leaving only a coffee cup, still warm on her desk. Across the globe, 200 women disappeared in a single night. Each abduction was clean, precise, and seemingly impossible to trace. The Zephyrians prided themselves on their efficiency. Sarah awoke in a crystalline chamber aboard the massive Zephyrian mothership. Around her, dozens of other women from various Earth cultures sat in similar containment fields. The air hummed with alien technology, and strange symbols pulsed along the walls in rhythmic patterns. "Welcome, specimens," Commander Vex announced as he entered the chamber, his translator device rendering his hisses into perfect English. "You have been selected for the honor of contributing to the expansion of the Zephyrian genetic legacy. Your DNA shows remarkable potential for adaptation and survival." Sarah pressed against the energy barrier of her cell. "You can't just take people. Earth has laws, governments, militaries that will come looking for us." Vex's laugh was a sound, like breaking glass. "Your primitive world poses no threat to us. We have scanned your planet thoroughly. No advanced weapons, no space fleet, no unified defense grid. You are isolated and helpless." But as Vex spoke, something extraordinary was happening across Earth. In government facilities hidden deep underground, in laboratories disguised as ordinary research centers, and in installations buried beneath the ocean floor, ancient systems were awakening for the first time in over 5,000 years. The Hidden Truth Inn, a facility buried 3 miles beneath the Pentagon, Director James Harrison watched as dormant technologies older than recorded history began to activate themselves. Crystalline structures that had been dark for millennia suddenly blazed with brilliant light. Computer systems that shouldn't exist registered energy patterns across the globe. "Sir," his aide, Lieutenant Colonel Maria Santos, called out as she stared at impossible readings. "The Sentinel arrays are coming online, all of them, simultaneously." Harrison's face went pale. He was one of only 12 people on Earth who knew the truth about the Sentinel protocol. "Get me the President now, and activate the Emergency Genetic Council. It's time." The truth was something that had been hidden from humanity for thousands of years. Earth was not defenseless. It was not primitive. It was not alone. Embedded in the DNA of every human on the planet were dormant genetic markers left by an ancient race called the Guardians. These beings had arrived on Earth during humanity's earliest days, not as conquerors but as protectors fleeing from a galactic war. The Guardians had integrated their essence into human genetic code, creating a symbiotic relationship. In exchange for a home and the chance to preserve their species through human genetics, they had given humanity a gift, the potential to become something more than either species alone. But this gift came with a safeguard. Any threat to Earth's population, particularly its women who carried the strongest genetic markers, would trigger an automatic response from systems the Guardians had left behind. Dr. Sarah Chen, floating in her alien prison, suddenly felt a strange warmth spreading through her body. The sensation started in her chest and radiated outward, bringing with it knowledge and memories that weren't her own. Images flashed through her mind, vast ships hidden in pocket dimensions, weapons that could reshape matter at the molecular level, and a network of protectors that spanned not just Earth but the entire galaxy. "What's happening to me?" she whispered. But even as she spoke, she knew. The Guardian genetics in her DNA were activating, awakening abilities that had lain dormant her entire life. The awakening across the Zephyrian ship, alarms began to sound. In the science bay, a technician studying human genetic samples watched in horror as the specimens began to change at the molecular level. The DNA was rewriting itself, expressing sequences that hadn't been active moments before. "Commander Vex," the technician called out in panic. "The specimens are exhibiting massive genetic activation. These readings are impossible." But Vex was dealing with larger problems. His fleet's instruments were detecting massive energy buildups from Earth's surface. Structures were rising from the ocean floors, emerging from deep underground, and materializing from what appeared to be empty space. "Impossible," Vex muttered, staring at the tactical display. "Our scans showed no advanced technology on this world." His science officer, a thin creature with multiple eyes, worked frantically at his console. "Commander, I'm detecting quantum signatures consistent with technology far beyond our own. These readings suggest civilization advancement levels of Class X or higher." Class X civilizations were theoretical. They represented technological development so advanced that they could manipulate space and time itself. In the known galaxy, only 3 races had ever achieved such levels, and all had disappeared eons ago. "That's not possible," Vex insisted. "They're primitives. They barely have space travel." But even as he spoke, the first of Earth's Guardian vessels began to phase into normal space around his fleet. These ships were unlike anything in Zephyrian databases. They appeared to be constructed from crystallized energy itself, their hulls shifting between states of matter as if the laws of physics were merely suggestions to be ignored when convenient. Sarah, meanwhile, was experiencing her own transformation. The energy barrier holding her had begun to weaken as her genetic awakening progressed. She could feel the prison's electromagnetic field, understand its frequency, and with concentration, she found she could disrupt it. With a sound like breaking glass, the barrier collapsed. Around the chamber, other women were experiencing similar awakenings. Elena Vasquez's eyes now glowed with a soft blue light as she interfaced directly with the ship's computer systems. Yuki Tanaka's body had become partially translucent, allowing her to phase through solid matter. Rebecca Sterling was manipulating gravitational fields with her thoughts, causing objects to float around her. "We're not just human anymore," Sarah realized aloud. "We never were just human." The Zephyrian guards who rushed into the chamber found themselves facing something they had never encountered before. Humans who were revealing themselves to be far more than they appeared. The guards' energy weapons simply passed through some of the women, while others absorbed the energy and redirected it back at their captors. Commander Vex watched his tactical display with growing horror as his fleet found itself surrounded by Earth vessels that operated on principles his science couldn't begin to understand. Worse, the human specimens aboard his ships were not only escaping their containment, but were somehow taking control of Zephyrian technology with an ease that suggested they understood it better than its creators. "Open communication channels to Earth," he commanded, his earlier confidence completely shattered. "Request immediate negotiations." But the response that came was not from Earth's governments or military leaders. Instead, a voice spoke directly into the minds of every Zephyrian in the fleet. It was Sarah's voice, but enhanced and multiplied, carrying harmonics that suggested vast intelligence and unimaginable power. "You have made a grave error," the voice said. "You have awakened something that has slept for millennia. You have threatened Earth's daughters, and in doing so you have triggered protocols established by beings whose power you cannot comprehend." The space around the Zephyrian fleet began to shimmer and distort. Reality itself seemed to be bending, as Earth's guardian systems fully activated for the first time in 5,000 years. "Your species will learn why, throughout the galaxy, there exists an unwritten rule that has protected countless civilizations from annihilation," Sarah's enhanced voice continued. "You never, under any circumstances, threaten Earth's women, because Earth's women are not defenseless. They are the keepers of humanity's greatest secret." As the first Zephyrian ship found itself completely immobilized by forces it couldn't understand, Commander Vex realized that his species had not captured primitive specimens. They had awakened an ancient power that had been patiently waiting for someone to be foolish enough to provoke it. The galaxy was about to remember why certain worlds were marked with warnings that transcended language and culture, and the Zephyrians were about to become a cautionary tale that would echo across the stars for generations to come. The real story was just beginning, and Earth was no longer hiding what it truly was. The transformation. Unleashed, Sarah Chen stood in the center of what had once been her prison cell, but she was no longer the marine biologist who had descended into Earth's depths just hours before. The guardian genetics flowing through her veins had awakened something ancient and powerful. Her eyes now held flecks of silver that seemed to contain entire galaxies, and when she moved, reality itself seemed to bend slightly around her. The other rescued women had undergone similar transformations, each manifesting different aspects of their guardian heritage. Dr. Elena Vasquez had become a living interface with technology, her consciousness able to merge with any computer system simply by touching it. Yuki Tanaka could phase between dimensions, existing in multiple realities simultaneously. Rebecca Sterling had developed control over fundamental forces, able to manipulate gravity, electromagnetic fields, and even atomic bonds with focused thought. "The ship's central computer is completely open to me," Elena reported, her hand pressed against a crystalline control panel. Data flowed through her mind like water, revealing the full scope of the Zephyrian operation. "Sarah, this isn't just about us. They've been planning a full-scale invasion of Earth. We were just the first phase." Sarah nodded, her enhanced awareness already reaching out to touch the minds of every human aboard the Zephyrian vessels. Across the fleet, she could sense the awakening of dozens more women, each discovering abilities that defied conventional understanding of human limitations. "Then we stop them here," Sarah declared. "All of them." Commander Vex burst into the chamber with a squad of his most elite soldiers, their weapons charged and ready. But as they opened fire, the energy beams simply dissipated harmlessly around the transformed humans. Sarah turned to face the Zephyrian commander, and when she spoke, her voice carried harmonics that made the air itself vibrate. "Your weapons cannot harm us, Commander. Your technology is based on principles we taught the galaxy eons ago. Did you truly believe the children could threaten their teachers?" Vex's reptilian features contorted with rage and fear. "Impossible. You're primitives. Our scans showed no advanced capabilities." Rebecca Sterling stepped forward, gesturing casually. The deck plates beneath the Zephyrian soldiers suddenly became as insubstantial as mist, and the entire squad plunged through multiple levels of the ship before she solidified the metal again, leaving them trapped but unharmed in the lower holds. Your scans showed exactly what we wanted them to show, Sarah explained. Earth has been hiding its true nature for 5,000 years, waiting for the day when someone would be foolish enough to threaten what we protect most, Earth's hidden arsenal revealed back on Earth. The planet's true defense network was revealing itself for the first time since the Guardian integration. In the deepest trenches of every ocean, massive structures rose from the seafloor. These weren't built by humans but by the ancient Guardians who had made Earth their sanctuary millennia ago. Director Harrison stood in the Pentagon's deepest bunker, watching displays that showed impossible things happening across the globe. The Mariana Trench, where Sarah had been conducting her research, was now revealed to house a command center larger than most cities. Similar installations were emerging from the Mediterranean, the Atlantic Ridge, and the Arctic Ocean floor. "Sir," Lieutenant Colonel Santos called out, her voice tight with awe and fear. "We're receiving communication from the Guardian fleet. They're requesting permission to fully decloak." Harrison had spent his entire career preparing for this moment, but the reality was overwhelming. "Grant permission. Full activation of the Sentinel Protocol. May God help us all." Across Earth's solar system, space itself began to shimmer and tear. From hidden dimensional pockets, vessels began to emerge that made the largest human spacecraft look like toys. These were the Guardian ships, kept in stasis for thousands of years, crewed by artificial intelligences that had been patiently waiting for activation. The lead vessel, a structure the size of a small moon, materialized directly between Earth and the Zephyrian fleet. Its hull seemed to be made of crystallized starlight, pulsing with energies that registered on no known spectrum. When it spoke, its voice reached every mind in the solar system simultaneously. "I am Eternal Vigil, first of the Guardian fleet. For 5 millennia we have maintained our watch over this world and its people. You have violated the most sacred of galactic laws. You have threatened Earth's daughters. Prepare to face the consequences of your actions." The Zephyrian fleet's nightmare commander Vex watched his tactical displays with growing horror, as his mighty fleet found itself surrounded by forces that operated according to physics his science couldn't begin to understand. Zephyrian vessels that had conquered dozens of worlds were being systematically disabled by weapons that seemed to rewrite the laws of reality. His flagship's chief science officer, Krex, worked frantically at his instruments. "Commander, these energy signatures are off all our scales. According to our readings, some of these vessels are generating power equivalent to entire star systems. That's impossible." Vex snarled. But even as he spoke, one of his dreadnoughts simply ceased to exist for several seconds before reappearing completely powered down, its crew unharmed but in a state of catatonic shock. The communication system crackled to life, and Sarah's voice filled the bridge. But now her words carried the authority of something far greater than a single human. "Commander Vex, you are going to listen very carefully. Your fleet has exactly one chance to survive this encounter. You will release every human you have taken. You will transmit a full confession of your crimes to every world in the Zephyrian collective. And you will ensure that your people understand what happens to those who threaten Earth." Vex's pride warred with his survival instincts. "We are the Zephyrian collective. We have conquered 100 worlds. We do not surrender to primitives." The response was immediate and terrifying. Every Zephyrian ship in the fleet simultaneously found its artificial gravity reversed. For exactly 60 seconds, every object and person aboard was pressed against the ceiling before gravity was restored to normal. The demonstration was precise, controlled, and absolutely impossible according to Zephyrian understanding of physics. "That was a gentle reminder," Sarah's voice continued. "The next demonstration will be less pleasant. Your technology, your weapons, your very understanding of reality is based on principles that our ancestors developed before your species learned to make fire. We are not primitives, Commander. You are the children playing with toys you don't understand." Krex's instruments were going insane as he detected impossible energy manipulations throughout the fleet. "Commander," he whispered, "they're not just disabling our ships. They're rewriting our technology. Our own systems are obeying their commands now." It was true. Across the Zephyrian fleet, computer systems were spontaneously upgrading themselves, incorporating Guardian technology that transformed their crude energy weapons into sophisticated instruments of precision. But these enhanced systems would only respond to Earth's commands. The galaxy takes notice. News of the confrontation near Earth spread across the galaxy with unprecedented speed. On 100 worlds, alien civilizations that had dismissed Earth as a primitive backwater suddenly found themselves re-evaluating everything they thought they knew. In the council chambers of the Galactic Federation, emergency sessions were called as long-range sensors detected energy signatures that hadn't been seen since the mythical Guardian War. Ancient races that had existed since before recorded history emerged from hiding to observe what was happening in the small solar system that most had ignored. Ambassador Zetha of the ancient Zerion Empire stood before the emergency council, her crystalline form resonating with frequencies of deep concern. Counselors, we are witnessing the awakening of a Guardian protectorate. The legends were true. The humans are not a separate species, they are the inheritors of Guardian legacy. The implications sent shockwaves through the galactic community. The Guardians had been the most powerful civilization in known history, capable of manipulating matter, energy, space, and time itself. They had vanished during a great war eons ago, but rumors had persisted that they had seeded chosen worlds with their genetic legacy. How many Guardian protectorates still exist? Asked the counselor from the Andromedan cluster. According to our oldest records, Zetha replied, Earth is the only one that has remained hidden for so long. The others revealed themselves millennia ago, and now serve as the galaxy's ultimate peacekeepers. Earth has been dormant. The council watched live feeds from the confrontation near Earth, seeing Zephyrian vessels being systematically dismantled and reconstructed by forces that operated beyond their understanding of possible technology. What are we witnessing? Whispered a delegate from a younger civilization. Justice, Zetha replied grimly. The Zephyrians violated the oldest law in the galaxy. Never threaten a Guardian protectorate's breeding population. They have awakened something that was content to remain hidden, and now the galaxy will remember why certain worlds are never to be touched. Sarah's true power. Emerges aboard the Zephyrian flagship. Sarah had moved beyond the containment areas and was now standing on the command bridge itself, having walked through multiple bulkheads as if they were made of mist. Her transformation was accelerating, and she could feel her consciousness expanding to encompass not just the fleet around Earth, but Guardian installations across the galaxy. Commander Vex, she said, her voice now carrying harmonics that made the ship's hull itself resonate. Let me show you what you've awakened. She gestured, and the main view screen displayed something that made every Zephyrian on the bridge recoil in terror. The view pulled back from their fleet to show the entire solar system, revealing Guardian installations that had been hidden throughout. Mars had Guardian facilities buried beneath its polar ice. Jupiter's moons housed manufacturing centers that were already producing new vessels. Even Earth's moon was revealed to be partially artificial, containing weapon systems that could sterilize entire star systems. For 5,000 years we've watched your civilization grow, Sarah continued. We've monitored your conquests, your genetic harvesting programs, your expansion across the galaxy. We allowed it because you never crossed the line. Until today, the display shifted to show Guardian installations across dozens of star systems, all now awakening in response to the threat to Earth. Ancient vessels emerged from hidden bases, their crews of hybrid Guardian descendants preparing for their first military action in millennia. You see, Commander, Earth isn't just a Guardian protectorate. Earth is the Guardian capital, the heart of their civilization. And we are their children, their heirs, and their vengeance. Vex collapsed into his command chair, the full scope of his civilization's error finally becoming clear. What do you want from us? Sarah's expression softened slightly, showing traces of the human she had been. We want to ensure this never happens again. Your fleet will be allowed to return to Zephyrian space, but not unchanged. Every ship, every crew member will carry Guardian technology that will prevent you from ever again using your capabilities to harm innocent populations. She paused, her enhanced senses detecting the approach of reinforcements from deep space. And you should know, Commander, that word of your actions has already reached other civilizations. The Galactic Federation is mobilizing to investigate. The ancient races are awakening from their long slumber. You've started something that will reshape the balance of power across the entire galaxy. The truth was becoming clear to the Zephyrian. Commander, his species hadn't just attacked a primitive world. They had declared war on the most powerful civilization in galactic history, one that had been patiently hiding among the stars for millennia. As the first Guardian reinforcement vessels began arriving from other star systems, each one carrying weapons that could unmake matter at the subatomic level, Vex realized that the Zephyrian Collective's age of conquest was over. They would be fortunate to survive what they had awakened, and in the depths of space, ancient powers that had slept for eons continued to stir, drawn by the activation of Earth's Guardian protocols. The galaxy was about to discover that humanity's rise to the stars would not be as primitives seeking to learn from their elders, but as the inheritors of the most advanced civilization that had ever existed. The final reckoning was yet to come. The final judgment. Sarah Chen stood at the center of the Zephyrian flagship's bridge, no longer recognizable as the marine biologist who had descended into Earth's depths just days before. Her transformation was complete now. Her consciousness expanded to encompass not just her own enhanced abilities, but the collective knowledge and power of the Guardian legacy that flowed through her DNA. When she spoke, her words carried the authority of 5,000 years of hidden civilization. "Commander Vex," she said, her voice resonating with harmonics that made the ship's crystalline control panels sing in response. "Your trial begins now." Around the bridge, holographic displays materialized, showing scenes from across the galaxy. Zephyrian conquests, genetic harvesting operations, entire civilizations reduced to breeding stock for their expansion programs. The evidence was overwhelming, collected by Guardian observation posts that had been watching and recording for millennia. "For centuries, your people have built an empire on suffering," Sarah continued. "You've treated other species as resources, to be exploited, harvested, and discarded. We allowed this because your victims were not under our protection. But the moment you touched Earth's daughters, you crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed." Vex's reptilian features had lost all their earlier arrogance. The tactical displays around him showed the true scope of what his species faced. Guardian fleets were emerging from hidden installations across 50 star systems. Ancient allies, civilizations that had been secretly under Guardian protection for millennia, were declaring their allegiance. The balance of galactic power was shifting in real time. "What are you?" Vex whispered, finally understanding that he faced something far beyond his comprehension. Sarah's form shimmered slightly, her human appearance overlaying something vast and ancient. "I am what your species could have become, had you chosen cooperation over conquest. I am Sarah Chen, daughter of Earth, inheritor of the Guardian legacy, and your judge." The Zephyrian homeworld's reckoning, thousands of light years away, the Zephyrian homeworld of Zestharak was experiencing its own awakening. Guardian vessels had materialized in orbit without triggering a single defensive system, their stealth technology so advanced that they existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, visible only when they chose to be. Supreme Leader Craxus stood in the central command chamber of the planetary defense grid, watching displays that showed the impossible. His most powerful weapons simply passed through the Guardian ships as if they were made of light itself. When the weapons did make contact, they were absorbed and converted into harmless energy that the Guardian vessels used to power their own systems. "Status report," Craxus demanded, his multiple arms gesturing frantically at the tactical displays. "Supreme Leader," his chief military advisor stammered, "our entire fleet has gone silent. Every ship we sent to Earth has been changed. They're returning home, but they're no longer under our control." It was true. Across the Zephyrian Empire, returning vessels were broadcasting a single message in every language known to their species. The voice was Sarah's, but enhanced and multiplied until it seemed to come from the very fabric of space itself. "People, Of the Zephyrian Collective, your leaders have committed crimes against the fundamental laws of galactic civilization. They have awakened an ancient power that has judged your species and found you wanting. Your age of conquest is over. Your empire of suffering ends today. In the capital city below, Zephyrian citizens looked up to see the sky itself changing. The Guardian vessels were projecting holographic displays across the entire planet, showing the truth about their civilization's crimes. Every conquest, every forced breeding program, every systematic destruction of other species' culture and independence was laid bare for all to see. Your leaders told you that you were bringing order to chaos. Sarah's voice continued. They convinced you that other species were inferior, suitable only for exploitation. Today, you learn the truth about your place in the galaxy. The transformation begins. What happened next was unlike anything in recorded galactic history. The Guardian vessels didn't attack the Zephyrian homeworld. Instead, they began to transform it. Massive energy beams descended from the orbiting ships, but instead of weapons, they carried something far more profound: information. Genetic templates, cultural databases, technological specifications, and most importantly, the complete moral and ethical framework that the Guardians had developed over millions of years of civilization. Every Zephyrian on the planet found their minds flooded with new knowledge. They experienced firsthand the suffering they had caused other species. They felt the terror of the beings they had harvested. They understood with perfect clarity the difference between cooperation and conquest. Dr. Elena Vasquez, her consciousness now linked to Guardian systems across the galaxy, monitored the process from Earth. Sarah, the transformation is working perfectly. Their entire species is experiencing accelerated ethical evolution. They're becoming what they should have been all along. The process was not cruel, despite the magnitude of the Zephyrians' crimes. The Guardians had learned, over tons of existence, that punishment without understanding only created more suffering. Instead, they were giving the Zephyrian species the gift of perspective, forcing them to evolve beyond their predatory nature. Supreme Leader Craxus collapsed to his knees as the full weight of his species' crimes flooded his consciousness. For the first time in his life, he truly understood what his people had done. The genetic harvesting programs weren't scientific advancement, they were systematic torture. The conquest campaigns weren't bringing order, they were destroying beautiful, unique civilizations. "What have we done?" he whispered, tears streaming down his scaled cheeks. The galactic awakening news of the Zephyrian transformation spread across the galaxy with unprecedented speed. On thousands of worlds, civilizations that had lived in fear of conquest suddenly found themselves under the protection of powers they had thought were myths. The Galactic Federation called an emergency session, but for the first time in its history, Earth sent a representative. Sarah herself materialized in the council chambers, her presence causing ancient delegates to kneel in recognition of her guardian nature. "Honored beings," Sarah addressed the assembly, her voice carrying across multiple dimensions to reach species that existed in different phases of reality. "The age of hiding is over. Earth formally announces its emergence as a guardian protectorate and claims its rightful place in galactic civilization." Ambassador Zetha of the Zerion Empire stood, her crystalline form resonating with frequencies of deep respect. "The Council recognizes Earth's claim and formally acknowledges the return of Guardian authority to galactic affairs. We have missed your guidance." The implications were staggering. For thousands of years, various species had tried to fill the power vacuum left by the Guardian's disappearance. Wars had been fought, empires had risen and fallen, and countless civilizations had suffered under the rule of species like the Zephyrians. Now, suddenly, the galaxy's true protectors had returned. "What of the Zephyrians?" asked a delegate from the Andromedan cluster. Sarah's expression was serene but implacable. "They are being transformed. Their empire will be dismantled, their conquered peoples freed, and their species will be guided toward a better path. This is not punishment, it is evolution. They will become what they should have been from the beginning, a species that contributes to galactic civilization rather than parasitizing it. The new era begins back on Earth. The planet's transformation was equally dramatic. Hidden cities rose from the ocean floors, their crystalline spires reaching toward the stars. Ancient technologies, dormant for millennia, awakened to serve humanity's expansion into the galaxy. Director Harrison stood on the observation deck of the newly revealed Guardian Command Center, watching as Earth's first interstellar fleet prepared for launch. These weren't the crude chemical rockets that humanity had used for its first tentative steps into space. These were vessels that folded space around themselves, traveled through dimensions that existed between reality, and carried weapons that could reshape matter at the quantum level. "Sir," Lieutenant Colonel Santos approached, her own transformation evident in the silver flecks that now adorned her eyes. "We're receiving requests for diplomatic contact from over 300 civilizations. It seems word has spread about our capabilities." Harrison nodded, still adjusting to the magnitude of what humanity had become. "Schedule meetings with all of them. It's time Earth took its rightful place in galactic affairs." The truth was that every human on Earth was changing. The crisis had triggered a species-wide awakening of Guardian genetics. Children were being born with abilities that previous generations would have considered miraculous. Scientists were making breakthroughs that advanced human understanding by centuries in mere days. Artists were creating works that transcended dimensional boundaries, but perhaps most importantly, humanity was developing the wisdom to use these new abilities responsibly. The Guardian legacy included not just power, but the ethical framework to wield it properly. Sarah's choice in the depths of space, aboard what had once been a Zephyrian flagship but was now the first vessel of Earth's Guardian fleet. Sarah faced a choice that would define not just her future, but the future of galactic civilization. "Yao, other Guardian protectorates are awakening," Dr. Elena Vasquez reported, her consciousness linked to communication networks that spanned the galaxy. "Worlds that have been hidden for millennia are revealing themselves. The Altarians, the Vegan Collective, the Centauri Alliance, all Guardian inheritor species are coming forward." Sarah nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. She could return to Earth, resume her life as a marine biologist, and let others handle the complexities of galactic politics. Or she could accept the role that her transformation had prepared her for. "I accept the position of Earth's Guardian Ambassador," she declared, her decision rippling through the quantum communication networks that connected all Guardian installations. "It's time we took our place among the stars." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Across the galaxy, ancient powers stirred to life. Civilizations that had waited eons for the Guardian's return celebrated. And on thousands of worlds, beings looked up at the stars with hope instead of fear for the first time in millennia. The blood debt paid. The Zephyrian Collective's transformation was complete within a planetary rotation. Their conquering fleets had been converted into aid vessels, bringing relief to the civilizations they had once oppressed. Their genetic harvesting facilities had been turned into medical centers, using Guardian technology to heal the damage they had caused. Former Supreme Leader Craxus, now genuinely reformed by his exposure to Guardian ethical frameworks, broadcast a message to the entire galaxy. "To all beings who have suffered under Zephyrian rule, we offer not just apologies but action. We will spend whatever time we have left as a species working to repair the damage we have caused. We understand now that true strength comes not from conquest but from cooperation. The Guardians have shown us a better path, and we will follow it." The blood debt had been collected, not through violence, but through transformation. The Zephyrian Empire's victims were freed, their cultures restored, their worlds returned to them, and across the galaxy, a new age began under the protection of powers that had waited patiently in the shadows for the right moment to emerge. Sarah Chen, once a simple marine biologist studying the deep ocean, now stood as humanity's representative. In a galactic community that spanned dimensions and realities she was only beginning to understand. Earth had revealed its true nature, and the galaxy would never be the same. The rule was simple and absolute: never threaten Earth's daughters. The Zephyrians had learned this lesson at the cost of their empire, their identity, and their freedom. But in losing what they were, they had gained something far more valuable: the chance to become what they should have been all along. And throughout the galaxy, beings looked toward Earth with a mixture of awe and relief, knowing that the ancient protectors had returned, and that the age of predators like the Zephyrians was finally over. The blood debt was paid. The galaxy was safe. And humanity had taken its first true steps toward the stars, not as conquerors, but as the inheritors of the greatest civilization the universe had ever known.